Welcome back to Advertising Week 2018. I'm your host, Patrick McGinnis, and I'm coming at you from the WWE AW360 live stage here in New York City. And I'm joined by Evan Rutchik, U.S. Managing Director of Ogury. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about data today. And I want to start with a little bit of a high-end, sort of high-level question about how can we better balance the need for data collection with the privacy concerns of consumers and governments?
Well, there's a lot in there to unpack, but I would say the first priority would be the privacy component, so being as forthcoming with the consumer as possible, giving the consumer the option to participate in providing their data to businesses, to whomever, in exchange for something, right? And that's how you balance the privacy component with the value exchange. If you provide a real service or a real offering or some true value to the consumer, then there's going to be a reason for them to provide their data. And that value exchange could be as simple as, I want to read this article on CNN today, right? So I'm going to get stuck with reading all these different ads if I want to read this thing. Or it could be as basic and mind-numbing as get a goat for your farm bill if you want to build whatever else could be there too, right? But it really comes down to providing a real value in exchange for the consumer giving you the data and respecting the data once you have it. Right. We've seen recently some data breaches, I think, from Facebook, quite frankly. Yeah. And they're being fined $1.6 billion because of a data breach. So that's an important thing to note, is that you can give them the data, give businesses data, but they have to respect it and treat it kindly.
Data is not just something that consumers think about, it's also something that's really playing into the creative side of the business. Sure. And I think in the past, as you talk to people, they acknowledge the fact that data was seen as an enemy in some ways of creativity.
Sure.
But that is changing. What do you think sort of can be the relationship between data and creativity in a positive sense?
In the positive sense, data allows for creativity. I firmly believe that, because if you can truly understand the consumer based on the data, then you can be more creative in how you approach them and providing them with more relevant experiences. So the challenge with data, however, is that there's a lot of bad data out there. In fact, so much so that roughly $3 trillion a year are wasted on bad data or decisions made from bad data. So you really need to understand, and thinking about it from a mobile perspective, because this is where I focus my time and energy, you really need to understand the full mobile journey of a consumer to provide them relevant content, right? So you don't need to stuff a TV ad in front of everybody on their mobile phone. But if you to everybody with all the scale and the reach in the world, right? You could, but it's not going to be as effective. So having the right data and the right understanding of, again, that consumer and where they are in their journey, you can be more creative in how you approach them, which will lead to a better experience. I said that it'll ultimately provide more value. Again, back to the value exchange. Like, I'll give you my data if you give me something meaningful, right, or something improved, enhanced, and that allows for more creativity, bottom line.
And as you think about, we've talked a little bit about targeting, which data allows you to do. See, the ROI, I should say, sure, can be higher. Is there anything else that data can give you beyond those kinds of things? I
mean, true insights. But it ultimately ends up leading to some type of ROI requirement. However, having data from a targeting standpoint is obviously important, right? We're at Adweek. This is all about advertisers and marketers, and this is what they're looking to do. But potentially, data could provide the ability to uncover a moment in time or a moment in a consumer's journey where they're more receptive, creating more efficiency, which would lead to better ROI. So it's not about always getting a conversion, it might be doing it cheaper, more effectively, or more efficiently. Or providing you an insight, going back to creativity, that would allow you to develop a really cool, interesting ad that might hijack the conversation for a little bit, hence Colin Kaepernick and Nike, right? That wasn't just something that someone just decided to do. There was a lot of data that suggested there would be a lot of support for that, or non-support for that would cause some conversation, therefore leading to more creativity.
And you've actually given me a perfect segue, because we talked about opportunities, but that example of Kaepernick did present some risk.
Of course.
What do you see?
Calculated risk. Absolutely.
What do you see as sort of the risks around data as you look at, its greater involvement in decision making?
The biggest risk to data in the decision making funnel is using bad data. There's so much bad data out there that decisions are made with the wrong insight or a misguided insight. And that's one huge challenge. Secondly, I would say that if data is improperly sourced, then there's a huge risk in doing the wrong, making a poor decision, but also from a PR perspective, a lot of these businesses, if you're using data that's not sourced properly, someone finds out, someone sees it, it happens, you get fined. From a PR perspective, it could impact how consumers view your brand. Right. If you don't respect me as a consumer, how can I respect you as a business? So I think those two things are really important to pay attention to in regards to data.
All right. Evan Rutchik of Ogury, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.